Back at it.
Back at it. Let's do this. This is our Reformation
We're
Day
talking to him soon.
extravaganza. We're back with you very soon. This is awesome. This is all about freedom and truth and goodness and America. It's not about America, but it's about goodness and truth for sure. So let's.
And Reformation.
Ernie, you with us?
Almighty, leave away, spit out my Lord in every way. Yet I'm still welcome in the arms.
The team past the gums. Look how stomach, here it comes.
Oh, from the very start to the end. That one is
From beginning to end. That's
We are on our special Reformation
Sunday edition of Talking Shop. And so what we're looking at is the traditional gospel reading assigned for this day, which is from John's Gospel, chapter 8, verses 31 through 36. It's kind of lifted right out of there, but it's good, man. This
hijacked right out of the middle of a better text.
This sucker will preach, man.
Yeah.
This is some good stuff. You can unload with this. So Jesus is talking to, as it says, Jews who had believed in him. So his people who were following him, believing in him, and to follow along is to be his disciple, and he's going to clarify the blessings of that. So what does he have to say to these folks who believe in him?
Well, first of all, they answer him back, right? That they haven't ever been enslaved to anyone. They've never been under anybody's thumb. So why would they even need to be set free?
Well,
right? That's the.
Hey, you jumped the gun.
Did I?
Yeah. What does he first say to him?
what
You know the truth, and the truth sets you free.
Yeah. If you know the truth. And this is not,
You're already going in your preachy voice.
This is not Paul Pierce.
You're ready to rock and roll.
We already
Celtics.
discussed that earlier.
But if you know the truth will set you free, right? Then they answer him.
We've never been enslaved. We've never been under anybody's thumb. We've
Which
never
is
been.
such a lie.
Yeah, sort of.
No, it's a lie.
Okay, it is. It is, but
It's like, wait.
Rome owns you now.
Yeah.
from my messianic buddies, this is the way they interpret it, right?
Yeah.
So let's for a moment go to them.
You know, when he does this, we need like one of those little yarmulkes he could put on and like.
I have one. I can put it on. I brought it with me to Jerusalem in case I needed it. Actually. Anyway,
Wow.
that the idea is, even though they were enslaved, even though they were like forced labor for somebody else or occupied, they never took on that. They never allowed that to beat them down, right? That they were always their own people. They always identified themselves. So that's the idea here. That we've never.
When they got beat down.
We've never realigned ourselves with the world, if you will, right?
Okay.
We've always been identified as the people of God. That was their argument.
Yeah. All right.
But nonetheless,
Right.
I think that's why Jesus' words get even fuller here, right? The idea is if you're the people of God, then you should probably show it. But that's later on.
Yeah.
Maybe you should act like it.
Yeah, maybe you should act like it.
So they respond that they've never been enslaved to anyone, right?
Right.
And what does Jesus have to say to that?
I think he brings the mirror out quickly, like this, and
How's that?
like this.
Okay.
Wasn't that Braveheart movie where he goes like,
It might be a sword.
Do that again?
like this, like that?
All right, good.
It'd be a firearm.
But was that
That was Braveheart. Yeah.
Or was that
That's good.
Gerard Butler and the other?
No.
That was Sparta. This is Sparta.
Yeah.
I fell asleep during Braveheart.
No,
My
this
bad.
is
I know.
This
It's
is
weird,
Mel
right?
Gibson as he's being cut open from chest to.
Oh, is that what
stem to
happened in the
stern.
movie?
Yeah.
Painted faces and everything.
Yeah.
What's that about?
He yells
Anyways.
out at the end.
But he shows in the Brother Law, like whoever commits a sin is a slave to sin. He really breaks down the entitlement or the
Yeah, I remember
preconceived.
years ago back during my undergraduate, I was in a class with Dr. Rosenblatt was teaching, and he's talking about what we now talk about is like the doctrine of total depravity. Like, you're a sinner, you're corrupt. Also, this guy raised his hand. He's like, I don't know anybody like that. You know, the way that Roosevelt was describing sinful people, and he like puts down the piece of chalk. This is back when they had chalk and
Chalk
and he
days.
He looks at him and he's like, "You are that." No, like it was that the mirror
Right.
was like, "This is like
Nathan
You
to
need to
David.
be honest with yourself. This is who you are.
Yeah.
If you are a sinner, you are a slave. You're bound to this."
Well, and even more than this, right? This is John 1. Anybody who says that they do not have sin deceives themselves, and the truth is not in them, right? So,
Luther, bondage of the will, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, all this stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is.
right. So I think what Jesus is actually doing here is he's elevating their idea of freedom, right? They're looking at freedom from an earthly standpoint. They're looking at freedom going, we've always been able to worship. We've always held our identity. We've always been called the people of God. And he says, on earth maybe,
Yeah.
right? But there's another separation there.
I think that's a good example of that classmate, whoever that classmate is.
Yeah. I don't know.
But no, I mean, is it? I think with a side note, just with decision
we'll
theology.
call him Bill.
No, but like with people who believe in like decision theology, like it's a clean slate that we could just decide and choose, that we have the will. You talk about bondage of the will, but the will to the free will to believe it or to choose, and I think this is a clear statement that no, we're dead in our sin. Ephesians 2. You know.
Yeah, it's actually you could go down a whole rabbit. I mean, I think it'd be a fruitful conversation of the bondage of the will, Luther's writings on that, in this regard. That you know, anyone who does commit sin is a slave to sin. Like, you do exactly what you want to do. You think it's even freedom to do it, but you're a slave the whole time. You're not free. You don't have you're not out there just, I'm going to pick and choose this and that. I can avoid it. No. You're going to do exactly what you want to do.
No, but know what
And that's going to be sin.
And
It's
you know
gonna
what
be
Isaiah
sin.
said about
Yep.
it? Even your best stuff? Yeah, still.
Yeah, filthy
still
rags. Exactly right.
Isaiah 64.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that's a good.
Handle.
It's definitely like
go down for
you could
people.
you could
Remember that.
do this to your people, right? You can hold the mirror in front of their eyes for a moment and really let them pick it apart and explain
And you could,
to them what
we
they are.
joked about this being for America, but you could start with, hey, you know, aren't we the greatest nation in the world? And
Personal freedoms all over
right,
the place.
and just look how free we are. You know, we can choose our gender now. You know, whatever. You know, I mean, and you could front load all that. Go, wait, maybe we're not as free as we thought.
Yeah.
And
And then in our freedom,
yeah,
what we find is the wrath of God.
right.
Yeah.
And the way we normally use freedom actually enslaves us.
Yeah.
And it's the commands of God and the commands of our Lord Christ that appear to be enslaving, that appear to be a burden,
Binding us, right?
that
Boundaries
actually is
that we hate.
what frees us and makes us alive.
Right.
This is I mean, of course, this is why they pick it for Reformation, but this is the clearest law gospel text I think that Jesus gives us. Right? You're a slave to sin. I have set you free.
Right.
That's law and gospel right there.
And you get
It's
such
done.
a great turn. You know, the truth will set you free. No, we don't need to be free, but
Right.
then he turns it right back.
Right.
To,
Yeah.
no, but freedom actually doesn't look anything like what you think it
No,
looks
it
like.
doesn't.
And when he speaks of that language of slavery too, I mean, it takes it out of your hands. This is kind of what Ernie was saying. It's not about your choice is going to correct this somehow. Like
Right.
Works.
Like you're bound up.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're now indebted to sin,
Yeah.
if you will.
And you're going to run from one set of shackles to the
Yeah,
next.
and the devil is going to get his due if he has his say.
And so then he highlights the means, the only way out of this conundrum, right? And I like the language where he speaks of the slave does not remain in the house for eternity, but somebody does. Who remains?
Son.
Not the slave, but the son.
Son, family,
right?
yeah.
And so everything's going to get connected to the son then. Like that's the key, the clincher. That's the one thing that will unlock this, right? So in other words, if the slave sets you free, that's not going to do you much.
That's
good,
kinda lame.
right.
Right.
You need the son. You need the son of the house, the son of the master. This is the one who will do it. And so then he concludes, right? Therefore, the son sets you free. then you are, and you know, it's kind of fun translating, like you are freely free.
So free.
Right,
free.
really free. Freedom rooted in Christ is freedom without any leftovers. There's nothing that he's forgotten or left out.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to come back and enslave you to that old way. Christ, that's true freedom.
But the problem is, I think we like the slavery.
Oh yeah.
And we're afraid of what that is.
Yeah.
To actually be free. For many of us, we go, yeah, we want that. For many of us, we don't want it.
Yeah.
We'd much rather identify ourselves with the stuff that actually enslaves.
No, because ironically, if you go to something like Acts, which I'm doing in a Bible study with my people right now, true freedom, which is what the disciples finally get in their
plugs like that
in their head.
Which I preached on last week. Which
Just want people to know that, I do more than sit around the table with y'all.
We do more than this.
That's right.
And Ernie barely does it.
That's
barely.
true. That's true.
What?
he barely preaches on Sunday morning.
Their true freedom, when they finally get that they are free and that nothing can hold them down, it brings persecution, it brings hardship, it brings ridicule, and they don't care.
Yeah.
Because they're free.
Because they've experienced that guy.
Right.
The Israelites are always looking back, right? Oh, the meat pots, the bread we ate in Egypt. How nice that would have been.
And all the cucumbers they could want.
And onions.
Whoa. All right.
They liked onions.
Okay. I didn't know that was.
It was
all right.
fresh.
No. Okay. Right.
So we just recently, people outside the Missouri Synod, I don't know how many know, but in our church body, our Dr. Norman Nagel recently passed away, and he was a big influence in my schooling and formation as pastor. But one of the things he used to say I always held on to, is he said, the gospel does not work with fractions. It's not like, hey, I sinned this much, then I'm going to forgive you this much, or I'm in bondage this much, I'm going to loose you this much. That the gospel is always an all or nothing thing. It's that superabundance, the cup pressed down, overflowing, all that kind of stuff. And so you get, I think here you could definitely preach that sort of thing that, if the sun sets, there's not this fractional relationship of tit for tat with where you've gone awry and what Christ is going to do for you. Yeah. You're free. Mm-hmm. And he actually means that.
Yeah.
And what we want to do, I think, because that's putting everything on Christ, is we want to start taking some of that back. Or we're afraid of what it might look like in the church if everyone actually believed that
and acted like it.
And then or would they still give? Would they still come? Would they still, because isn't there some sort of bondage we need over them to keep them coming back?
Still need rules, right?
We still need those rules to make it right, to give them something to shoot for, right? And what Christ is saying, I think this is that honing it down to the point, and the point is it's the Son of God, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have time for it too, like the prodigal son, prodigal father story and all that.
Right.
Probably for preaching this, you've got more than enough. But just that idea that when the father puts the robe over your shoulders, it's not, you're not half a son.
Yeah,
right.
You're a son again. I mean, you're a part of the family, and he wants nothing but the ring on your finger and the shoes on your feet.
Yeah,
be a part of what we are.
Or this is Paul in 1 Corinthians, right? All things are lawful to me, and we always want to pull back on that and go, well, Paul's hype. No, I think he actually believes that.
He might actually be saying
now that I'm free. I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm there.
But it always comes back to, well, what is it you want to do?
Right.
As a result of that freedom, what is it you want to do?
Yeah.
What's your motivation?
Yeah. Because, and that's where...
What are you praying for, right? What are you asking for? Do you want the jet plane, or do you want something for your neighbor?
That's
you can't afford the fuel.
Close to God, right?
That's the second half of that, though. Not all things are beneficial.
Right.
And because he recognizes that some of those things that we could actually use our freedom and do would lead us right back into the bondage and sin.
Slavery.
Right?
Yeah.
But
So
I think Tim had a good point. I know, right? But
Oh.
Joke. It's a joke. We joke. We joke. We joke. Anyways, but
What, they can't?
no, they can.
Okay.
You out there, but
should.
no, I think to properly formulate that sermon outline in your mind, I type out my manuscripts. So if I ever did an outline, this is what it would look like. It would be that whole freedom of, as Tim talked about, the world that we live in right now. We're always talking about freedom of whatever and
Perceived freedom.
really getting to the
Personal choice.
the core of that sin problem there, and then going straight to the freedom of Christ. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to still fight the battle. There's still that old Adam in us that's
Well, and we equate freedom with choice. I think
Right.
that's probably one of our biggest issues, is that we equate freedom with
We have a bad
the
definition
freedom, if you will, to pick X or Y.
sure.
And that's not freedom.
That's not Jesus' freedom.
It's not freedom.
All right, gang. Thanks for the conversation. Get after it this Sunday. Preach law and gospel. Don't pull back. All in. It is Reformation Sunday. If you are using
Wear red.
this text,
Rojo.
wear red.
Por favor.
Sing a mighty fortress. Not like Ernie, but
Almighty.
so, God bless your preaching. We'll see you next week.
Oh, man.